What is going on, brothers and sisters? Eric Rosen here, your internal strength coach, here to help inspire you to overcome your greatest challenges and overcome your greatest obstacles so you can shine your brightest light. So here it is again, day 2, I'm back. So yeah, same thing as yesterday, right? I'm still giving away free consultations for coaching. Message me if you're interested in that. The coaching, covers a lot of different capacities, but, the main crux of it is actually meant to be transformative. So, in other words, rather than, coming and preaching to you about what you should be doing or, just educating you and rattling off recommendations, which I can do, but it's actually kind of being a guide or like a shepherd to you to meet you where you're at and in your road and work on what you want to work on and kind of just help lead you to your own truth. The saying goes that the answers lie within. I mean, that's where it comes from. It's not external. So ultimately, the best answers are going to come from you. So also still offering the personal training. So the thing that I wanted to get into today is about shadow work. So shadow work, essentially, it's facing your fears. It's something that isn't a really sexy topic. Not a lot of people want to deal with something like that, but my belief is that if you can kind of dig down and strip away those parts that are no longer serving you, you'll actually end up feeling a lighter, just shedding dead weight, and then you can kind of just live in a more authentic fashion. So I would say that a lot of this stuff, comes from, I would say, one of two areas. Where do these emotions come from? Where do they get, caught at? And it's one, I think it's reoccurring patterns, like in your adulthood life, especially in your relationships, where essentially you have stuff that comes up and then you have these emotions that come up and you don't really want to deal with them. You don't fully process them. So you kind of just stuff them back down and they kind of get stuck there. The other one is from growing up through childhood. So, the saying goes is, a kid's mind is kind of like a sponge, right? Where that comes from is as you're growing up, the brain's developing, a lot of your truths are actually based on whatever it is that's happening to you as you're growing up. And even if it seems like the most silly thing in the world, it's actually becomes that kid's truth. So I think there's some people out there that would say, oh, the shadow work isn't necessary. You don't need to go through and explore all this darkness, all this dark stuff. And, there's talk about, positivity, just positive self-talk affirmations and things like that. And I believe that has a time and a place. In fact, I believe it actually comes after this stuff. Once you get rid of this stuff, essentially there's an empty space left there, where you got to fill it with something else. So then you can fill it, with the love, fill it with the positivity. So I would liken it to say you're like a house and, you want to fix up the house, but, the foundation is kind of sinking into the ground. You got a foundation problem, and instead of dealing with it, you go and maybe you replace the windows and paint the outside of it and fucking power wash it or something. And you mow your lawn, you make your yard all fucking pretty, and you get yard of the month or some shit. And then an earthquake, fucking storm shit comes through, fucks everything up, and now you've kind of lost all this work that you've done working on the outside, and the house is fucked because you didn't actually do the excavating work. You didn't go in and shore up the foundation. So that's my take on that. So that said, I think a lot of people shy away from this stuff just because it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good at all. I mean, most people, they just want to feel good, right? They want to take, part in their pleasures, whether that's, watching, Netflix or, just eating some good fucking food or, even drugs and alcohol, and even to a worse extent of feeling good, sometimes numbing out so you don't have to deal with the dark feelings that are there. So I think there was a few different modalities that I was thinking of today that I came up with, on different ways that you can kind of like go and do this excavating work. And, one is something that pretty much everybody's heard of by now, and that's meditation. Getting into a meditative like state essentially to, do some, just kind of see what comes up and do some introspection work. Another one you may be less familiar with is actually called breath work. It's where you actually modify your breathing, but with something like that, you're not really as consciously aware about the stuff that's going to come up. So another one, here's a real extreme version that I actually did. Ayahuasca ceremony. If you're not familiar with that, look it up. I actually went to Peru and did one, and while it wasn't all like darkness, there was a lot of great positive things there. There was also just some, really dark, creepy shit there, and it's a pretty extreme version. But the one that I actually wanted to explore more in depth today, a technique that's actually been working for me for the shadow work, is called tapping, or emotional freedom technique, EFT for short. And essentially what that modality is there's the belief that there's actually these energy meridians in your body, and that if you tap on the ends of them, because these trapped emotions are also made up of energy, that you can actually stir some things up and do some introspection work with it. So I'm just going to actually show you this technique right now. It's like super freaking simple, and it might sound kind of silly that I actually like paid like a significant amount of money to actually learn to do this and learn how to like do it the right way, but I'm just going to share with you like how it works for me. So just basically taking fingers and tapping on meridian points. The first one is the head. Tap on it like 4 to 5 times. Okay, move on to the eye, in between the eyes, the temple over here. Okay, kind of like that bone like on the side of the eye, and right below the eye, underneath the nose, the chin. Is this weirding you out yet? And then there's a spot on the neck that's actually kind of like where like the tie or like the bow tie would go on a guy, or like the and then down here like the bra strap of a woman. So you can also like switch hands. You can do like the other hand too. It doesn't really matter. But the way it works is number one, I think becoming aware of whatever it is that's going on. Like, you're triggered by a certain thing, because that's how these things like come up, like, these trapped emotions. You're going to see them like keep like reoccurring like in your life like over and over again. You're going to get triggered by something, and a lot of times we don't even know why, but that's why there's techniques like this exist to figuring this stuff out. So one is become just aware, like I'm like reacting to something, or projection is another one. If you're judging somebody, a lot of times, and pretty much every time, in fact, if you're passing judgment on somebody, it's actually they're doing something or saying something that's bringing up some insecurity in you. So that's something that you can tap on as well. You can also make a list of your self-limiting beliefs, and you can tap on those. But however like you come about it, like becoming aware of it is like the first thing. So getting into a place where my favorite way to do it is actually like the most like recent thing that like triggered me that comes up. I like to like start whatever is like the most freshest thing. That way that feeling's still kind of there, like even if you have to wait until later. And it's like bring the emotion back up, like feel it fully, just kind of like get out of your head, make that conscious intent to like move into that awareness of your body, getting out of your head, and then saying, okay, like and just essentially you're doing introspection, like asking questions after that. I'm just going to share with you like super vulnerable here, like something that happened today. This was like the strongest like emotional release that I've had from doing this technique, and it's really powerful. So what I did was I started, well, here's what happened. So my girlfriend, she's on vacation right now. She's down in Florida, and it was like one of those days, for like whatever reasons, like we hadn't like talked like for half the day, And when I actually did speak to her, I was like not exactly like in my like best mood when I spoke to her. And at first, like, I didn't know like what it was, like that was like setting me off. Like, you know, obviously I was triggered by something, but what I came to realize was in some ways like her absence, like not being here or just like not communicating with me, like in a way kind of was making me feel like, you know, I kind of wasn't a part of her life, like in that moment, which I know like it sounds like completely silly, and like the general advice would be like, dude, that's stupid, like get over it. But the fact is that because it was like a triggered thing and it comes from like this deeper emotion, it's actually a truth that I've been carrying with me my whole life. And what that was, as I tapped on it, was actually realizing that essentially it was a feeling of like not feeling special and even abandoned in a way, to be honest. So, you know, I started doing the tapping technique, okay, and I'm asking myself, okay, what is it that's setting me off? What's going on here? It's like, okay, you know, I feel like she's, you know, not there, she's not around, not paying attention. And how it comes up for me is, you know, and it can come up in a multitude of different ways. You can get certain feelings in your body. You can, you know, start to feel other types of feelings. You can even like see like visuals of stuff. For me, I saw a visual of my mother, and it's like, okay, you know, like I already knew where this was going because I already was aware of this. It's like, you know, divorced parents at a young age, stayed living with dad, wasn't with mom. Mom was actually the one that left the home, and not that she didn't have like good reasons to, but you know, for a child growing up, it's like you don't understand it, like you don't get it. And so it's like, okay, she's not there. It's like, and then essentially the next step is to kind of have a conversation, like once you're in that feeling, like with the person that you share this memory with, and essentially telling them like how you feel. And for me, that was saying like Mom, I didn't understand why you left. Like, I don't understand like why you weren't there. You know, was I a burden or something? Like, what's the deal? Like, again, keep in mind, this is like the young mind of a child here. And what it actually ultimately brought me back to was something that I had not realized that was actually still there. And that was, you know, this little boy that was actually still, that was wishing that his parents, that Mom would come home, that his parents would get back together. And I totally fucking forgot about this. And so like, as I'm like getting like down like to this, you know, like this stuff, it's stirring up like emotions. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I cried like I fucking sobbed like a little bitch. But essentially, once I continued to work through it and like told her how I felt, and that, what ends up happening is like you kind of like release like this negative connotation that you have with this memory. And then I actually saw this image of actually my mom and dad being together, like back in the home, like sitting on the couch, like giving me a hug, you know, and then my brother comes in and he gives us a hug, and, you know, it's like really moving. And, you know, again, it might seem trivial, you know, like this stuff, but I'll tell you, like, I feel lighter, and, you know, like doing just this shadow work in general, I feel happier than I have in like a long time. So, you know, most people are like, you ask them like, are you happy? And it's like, well, yeah, I'm happy. But it's like pretty much every single person is always going to say that they could be happier. And it's not stuff that, it's not the money, it's not the job, it's not the car, it's not the spouse, it's not any of that shit that's like going to fill that void. So, you know, to me, I think that's where, you know, this shadow work, you know, stuff comes in. So, you know, just to kind of recap, so what was the first thing that happened? It's like I was like not feeling like good about something. Like, that's why it's shadow work. It doesn't feel good. Like, I didn't want to deal with it. The natural inclination is to want to shy away from, you know, like dealing with it. Like, you just like, I just want to feel good. I don't want to deal with this. And, you know, in a relationship context, a lot of times, like, what happens is, you know, worst case, it's like you play the blame game. Sometimes compromise like can come in, like where it's like, hey, you did this to me, so I want you to do it like this or something. And I don't think that's a healthy mindset to take, within the relationship context. And instead, just realizing, and, luckily, I have an awesome partner, and to be able to like explain to her like, hey, here's the deal. I'm working through this shadow work. I was triggered. It was nothing you did. And in fact, going full circle and actually expressing thanks, like thank you, like for triggering me, because by doing this, you actually allowed me to realize that I was I did have some stuff that I had to deal with. So that stuff is actually a gift, even though it seems like darkness. So yeah, I actually I know I used the excavation analogy, but the image that I actually channeled earlier, when I was meditating on this, I actually saw a picture of a toothbrush. And so the thing that I got from that was, it's kind of like, like when Forrest and like Bubba are like down on the floor and they're like scrubbing the floor in like boot camp or whatever. And the message was that, like with this shadow work stuff, it's like, do a little bit at a time. It's almost like, when you want to shine up your car, like even like when like a statue or something, gets a bunch of weathering and mold or something growing on it. It's kind of like you take this toothbrush and you're kind of like gently like brushing, like peeling back the layers and polishing it, so you can kind of get back that shine that you had when you were, more of an innocent person before all this stuff like that came up. And the neat thing about it too is like, because it was a toothbrush, not like a big like brush or something like that. It's like do just a little bit at a time. Don't like fall into like this trap of that you need to like just sit around like processing like all the time and just like deal with this stuff. Like keep moving forward in life, like keep taking action. Like don't forget to live your life, just because you start to realize that there's parts of yourself that that you need to work on. Just work on it a little bit at a time and keep moving forward. And I mean, again, like that's what I'm doing here. Like I by no means like felt ready to like start doing videos, let alone on Facebook fucking Live. There's still plenty of work that I have to do, but here I am, I'm still showing up. So yeah, I think that's all I really had. I would say that, if this is something that you're interested in, and especially like, if it's piqued your interest, or if you're inspired, like go and check more out about it and try to do it, as soon as you can, because a lot of times, we get inspired or our interest gets piqued in something and then we forget about it. We don't do it. The real magic happens when you're inspired and you take action like right after that, instead of just like relishing in the, oh, I feel so good, I was inspired, like actually go and take the action. So I'm always going to preach that about, taking the action. But yeah, so if you guys liked the video, or even have like constructive criticisms, like feel free to like shoot me a message. If you or someone is like interested in the personal training, the coaching, again, also shoot me a message. The website's coming. I'm gonna upload this video to YouTube today, and so in the comment section I'll post the YouTube channel. And I just also want to thank the people for showing up, that showed up last night, that showed up today, and also appreciate the encouragement and the likes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's crazy, but I just want to let you guys know, like, I appreciate you guys, like, even just taking this time to like listen to me ramble, if that's what it sounds like. But nonetheless, I mean, fuck it, I'm gonna have fun doing this. So I mean, that's really what it's all about. Oh, that was the other thing that came in. Like, remember, too, like when you're shining yourself up, like with this toothbrush analogy, that you're not shining yourself up to like be like everybody else. I mean, I talked about that toucan analogy yesterday. It's like, you know, shine your own bright colors, you know, shine in your own unique way, and do it like in a positive, aligned way, not an egotistical way. Don't do it in like an angry, flamboyant way, but, you know, do it in a way that, you know, that's truly in alignment, you know, with who you really are. And doing this shadow work is going to help you figure out what that is. All right, guys, have a good evening. I'll see you tomorrow.